Welcome back to Restoration Design. My name is Adam, and I'm here to help you with the continuation of the installation of the floor on our 1967 Porsche 912. The Porsche 912s are quite similar to the 911s if you happen to be working on a 911. The only thing that differs the 912 from the 911 for the most part is the engine. The engine size is different, so the mounts are a little bit different. Anyways, we are continuing here today with our floor installation, and we have a gas pedal area pan. This pan here comes oversized. There is extra material here, just in case you need it for any reason, but when you're fitting your pan, I would recommend cutting the majority of this off. I'd say about 2.5 inches until you get to about this rib here. When you go to fit the part on your car, you'll notice that it's not quite exactly the same because this is just runoff from the die. So this is just extra material. Now, I've gone ahead and already prepped a pan. The car is already pre-prepped, if you noticed from the last video when we installed the floors here. This is all I'm going to use out of the pan. Now, it seems like a waste to buy this entire pan for this small section, but this section has all the perforations and definitions and stuff in it that you need to make the car look authentic. I've got all of this already cut out, ready to go, due to the other extensive work that we've been doing on the floor here. So my section already fits quite nicely. So I'm pretty much just gonna have to clamp this in and weld it on. But I wanted to talk to you guys about a few things first. Inside here, we've got flanges here. You can see this little one here that I've replaced. It was rotted pretty bad. Once again, along the tunnel here has been replaced, and all down in here. Something I'd like to point out down here is we have the tube that comes down. This is a water drain that comes from the top of the shelf by the front window. So any water that gets caught up underneath the front hood comes down and drains out this tube. This tube is welded solid on, and the hole is not drilled because they vary from car to car. So you'll have to drill the hole in your pan for this tube. Also, another spot I'd like to point out is right here. This little cup that's in here, we decided to leave it original due to the fact that it doesn't have all that much rod on it. There's a bit of rust there, but the rod isn't all that bad. So we decided to save this so that we could keep our original welds. One of the things we're always trying to keep up on is to make sure that the cars are original, as authentic as they possibly can be. Also with this project, we are going to be replacing the bearing brackets. The bearing brackets, what I did prior to removing any steel off the car is I made myself this funky little jig here. Now this jig bolts up to 2 other parts on the car that are not going to be removed at all. So I was able to use these as my guide for bolting the bearing brackets back on. So when I'm all said and done and I've got my floor in place, I just bolt my bearing bracket on there, tighten these bolts up nice, and voila, I have positioning for my bearing brackets. Another thing I'd like to mention here is inside there's 2 flanges in particular on this front section that are hidden, that you can't get to from the inside or the outside. So what you have to do is, you gotta mark out the flanges and punch your holes in the actual floor piece and do your rosette welds from the bottom instead from the inside on the flanges. All right, now that I'm finished fighting with the part to get it in and get it the way I like it, I'm gonna put a couple self-tapping screws in there to secure it in place. I'm going to fuss with it probably a little bit more before I actually start welding. I can already tell there's a little bit more hammering that I'm going to have to do. Some hammering and a couple of butt clamps, and I think we should be just about ready to weld. All right, got my butt clamps taken care of here. I got my beautiful assistant Al on the other side. Al is just as good as Wes, but not as pretty. All right, that weld's looking pretty good. Side here needs a little bit more play on it. So next up for us here, Might put a few more clamps around these flanges here, and then we'll get some tacks around on some of the spots that are nice and flush for us. So let me go get my welder. All right, let's get some MIGing done here. It's a good idea to probably keep your plenishing hammer nearby for this. That way you can make slight adjustments as you're going along the way there. These old cars, the steel can be rotted and almost non-existent, and some of the steel is a little bit thin and worn down. So if your heat is up too high on your welder, sometimes the steel will just melt away from where you're trying to weld. If it does melt away like that, you can turn your heat down and turn your wire speed up a little bit. All right, at this point in time, we're working away on getting our butt welds done. I'd like to take the time now to straighten out my flanges. Now that I have the pan secured in there with all these little tacks, I can really whale away on this end here to get it so that it's real nice and tight. Well, I've got my flanges tucked in there nice now. Everything's matching up nice and perfect. All my butt welds are nice and flush. I spent quite a bit of time hammering those out to make sure that they were nice and running perfect along the rest of the line of the car. Next, we're going to get some more of these welds done. I'm going to tack the flanges down and then move on from there. I'm going to complete the weld in here across where the gas pedal bracket gets installed. That way I can grind it down and get it tacked in place as well before I run around the car and finish all my welds. I've finished welding the area where the gas pedal bracket goes installed. And then I ground down the weld that was there. There wasn't much there to take care of. That way I can fit for the gas pedal bracket. Now the gas pedal bracket has got 2 studs and 2 nuts on it. As you can see, I've already prepped it with my holes for my rosette welds. What I want to do at this point is I want to put it in place, and then we'll take a little punch here, and I'm going to punch to mark out what the 2 holes are for the nuts. Now there is a little bit of play in this, so it'd probably be a good idea to mount your gas pedal on the other side to make sure you have proper positioning. I'm happy with the position of my gas pedal bracket. It's in there nice and tight, and it lines up really, really well. So I'm going to go ahead and fill a couple of these plug welds and then take the self-tapping screws out. All right, like I mentioned at the start, I built a nice little jig here for getting our bearing brackets back in proper placing. So we got our sheet metal in. I'm gonna grab our brackets here, which of course I've already prepped in advance for our rosette welds. A moment of truth, see how well they actually fit. It's looking pretty good. All right, now when I made this bracket, all I did was take 4 pieces of steel and drill holes in them to the proper size for the bolts. so that the bolt would fit in there just like a tight sleeve so it doesn't have too much play. Once I bolted those 4 pieces on, I then weld them together and then put cross members between them to give it a little bit more durability so it wouldn't twist or anything like that coming on and off the car. So I've got it bolted in place and I've got my brackets in there ready to go. I could probably just put some self-tapping screws in there, remove the brace out of the way, and go ahead and finish my welds. I'm going to get going on this. Got a lot of work ahead of me. I'd like to thank you on behalf of Restoration Design for joining us here today for our short video. Hope you found it educational. You should subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do have a lot more videos coming out, especially this car in particular. There is seat backs, seat bottoms, shelf, window corners, and much more. Thanks again.